Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Hey folks, have you ever said to yourself, this time it's going to be different? You know, you've cleaned out the refrigerator, you bought all these groceries with good intentions. You even told yourself you were finally ready to take your health seriously this time. And for a while, yeah, you did. But then something happened. Life got busy, your schedule changed, your energy dropped, or the results simply didn't come as fast as you expected. And then guess what? You slowed down. Then eventually you stopped. You found yourself starting over yet again. Trying to reverse type 2 diabetes isn't easy, folks. I'm telling you. And building a healthy lifestyle that lasts takes more than just motivation. At some point, many people don't quit because they don't care. They quit because they're tired of restarting. I've been there. In today's episode, we're talking all about how to break the cycle of starting over and how to create a lifestyle that actually helps reverse type 2 diabetes. Now, here's what you'll learn today. You'll learn how to set expectations that support real change and not burnout. You'll hear practical ways to build habits that fit real life. And guess what? You'll learn how to keep going when motivation fades and quitting feels all so familiar. This episode is about progress, patience, and persistence. So stick around to hear the rest of this episode. Let's go. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or a comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Welcome to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. When people hear my story of being 268 pounds at one time and losing over 80 pounds in less than a year, reversing type 2 diabetes, getting off high blood pressure medication, high cholesterol medication, getting off insulin and so forth, they often ask and want to know, how did I do the weight loss thing? Basically, how did I lose so much weight in such a short period of time? They focus only on the numbers. They focus on the results. But what doesn't get talked about enough, I believe, is the struggle in between. Because starting wasn't the hardest part for me. The hardest part for me at one point was staying consistent when motivation wore off. Yes, I made the decision to change my life. I committed to doing better. But even after that decision, it wasn't smooth. There were weeks when I felt disciplined and focused. There were other weeks when life just simply pulled me in all kinds of directions. Work got demanding, sleep wasn't always great, progress felt slower than I wanted. And in those moments, the idea of starting over felt familiar. Then I realized something important. Reversing type 2 diabetes isn't about intensity. It's about consistency over time. I had to stop thinking in terms of all or nothing. If I missed a workout, I didn't quit. If I had an off meal, a cheap meal that some of us like to have on the weekend or more than once a week, I didn't give up that day. If a week didn't go as planned, I didn't scrap the whole process. I stayed in it. Some days that meant a solid workout. Other days it meant a walk. Some days it meant eating really clean. Other days it meant stopping earlier than I used to. Those decisions didn't feel automatic. They didn't feel dramatic either. But over time, they changed everything. If you're listening right now and you've started over more than once, I want you to hear this very clearly. Starting over doesn't make you weak. Quitting permanently is the challenge. And today we're talking about how to stop repeating that cycle. Now let's talk about the problem with starting over. When you start over, you reset your mindset. You convince yourself that you need a perfect plan again. You wait for the right time. You tell yourself, yeah, you'll do it the right way this time. And that pressure alone becomes so exhausting, folks. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. What most people don't need is another restart. They need continuation. They need permission to pick up where they are, not where they think they should be. Reversing type 2 diabetes doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence, folks. And that brings me to a lesson I learned through running. Running taught me a lot about consistency. When I first started running, I didn't think in miles. I thought in minutes. 10 minutes felt long. 15 minutes felt uncomfortable at first. I questioned whether I was even built for it. I used to see other runners and assume they had something that I didn't. What I didn't see was the years of consistency behind what they did to get the results that they were getting. Running taught me about patience. It taught me humility. It taught me that endurance is built slowly. I love long distance running, but if you would have told me that I would be running marathons and half marathons and ultra marathons, I would have told you that, no, you're crazy. I didn't just wake up one day and suddenly have the stamina to run long distance. You build it step by step, folks. That's what I learned. And that's what the running taught me. There's no difference when it comes to type 2 diabetes and building a lifestyle that works. You don't just do this overnight and figure that, okay, all those years of habits, of poor habits are just going to be gone in a few weeks. It doesn't work like that. You don't change your health in one decision. You change it by making better decisions more often than not. That's how lifestyle is built. Okay, folks, when I talk about reversing type 2 diabetes and building a lifestyle, this isn't just my observation. Let me tell you about this recent study that I came across by Kaiser Permanente. So in 2025, a large Kaiser Permanente study looked at over 560,000 adults living with type 2 diabetes. What they found was very important. Researchers confirmed that remission is possible. Basically, reversing type 2 diabetes is possible, even with standard care. People can get their blood sugar back into a normal range without the use of medication. But here's the part that really matters. Only 3% were able to stay in remission, not because reversal isn't achievable, but because most people lack a maintenance structure to support it. Basically, having a lifestyle that supported the ongoing remission of type 2 diabetes. That's why the conversation has shifted from can we reverse type 2 diabetes to how do we stay reversed? And that brings us right back to why we need to stop starting over and focus on creating a new lifestyle. Without clear boundaries and structure, progress fades. But with them, reversal has a chance to last, folks. Now, let me share with you 5 keys to stop starting over again. Now, let's walk through these 5 keys that'll help you move forward without quitting. Now, number 1, I'm going to give you these in order, and then we'll talk through it. So, number 1, you have to know your why. Number 2, set realistic expectations. Number 3, build momentum with small wins. Number 4, protect your decision with boundaries. And number 5, evaluate and adjust without quitting. Now, let's break these down. Number 1, you have to know your why. Your why is your anchor. When motivation fades, and it will, your why keeps you grounded. That's why you have to ask yourself, why do I want to reverse type 2 diabetes in the first place? Why does my health matter to me? Who am I doing this for anyway? And I want you to write it down, and that you need to revisit it often. Put it somewhere in your phone, in your notes, what have you. Put it on your mirror. Put it wherever you can often see it and remind yourself of your why. When things get hard, I remind myself, Oscar, keep focused. You're committed. Keep moving. Trust God. That self-talk really matters, folks. Now, number 2, setting realistic expectations is very important. Unrealistic expectations can destroy consistency. If you expect fast results, you'll get discouraged. If you expect perfection, you'll quit. Start where you are. Build from there. Consistency matters more than intensity. Progress matters more than speed. Now, number 3, build momentum with small wins. Big change doesn't start with big actions. It starts with repeatable ones. Remove one unhealthy habit and then replace it with a better one. For example, swap those sugary drinks for water. Reduce late night eating. Move your body regularly. I always tell folks that it's important to aim, AIM. Always improve movement. So again, move your body regularly. So aim to do that. These small wins build confidence. Again, remember that. Small wins build confidence, and confidence keeps you going. Now let's move on to number 4. You have to protect your decision with boundaries. Reversing type 2 diabetes requires boundaries, folks. The other day I overheard a conversation between 2 people talking casually about their health. They were going back and forth about what they were willing to change and what they weren't willing to change, what they were willing to give up versus what they were just going to hold on to. Most of the conversation was centered around food. Foods they enjoyed, foods they crave, especially around the holidays. And they were talking about how hard it would be to give up certain things. One person kept emphasizing how difficult it felt and eventually landed on the idea of just continuing to do their quote unquote best. They were just saying that, I'm just going to do the best that I can. What stood out to me wasn't what they said per se. It was what wasn't said. There was no real commitment to change. They kept talking about, what they weren't willing to change and so forth. And for me, I just noticed that there was no clear decision. There was no boundaries being set. And listen, I'm not here to judge at all, but here's the truth. The longer we avoid setting boundaries, the harder it becomes to see lasting results. So like those people who were talking about all the stuff that they weren't willing to give up and that they'll do their best and so forth, with no boundaries, of course, they're going to go through this repeat cycle of weight gain and struggling. Yeah, they may be exercising on occasion, but there were no real boundaries. You see, boundaries aren't about punishment or these high restrictions. I know some people, especially around the new year, they make these New Year's resolutions and they're like, I'm just going to cut out this cold turkey, XYZ. And then a month or 2 later, they're back to their old habits and their old lifestyle. So again, boundaries aren't about punishing yourself. It's not about restricting yourself from foods that you love. It's about setting clear and concise expectations and boundaries to help you to make a real commitment to change. Every time you say no to something that pulls you backwards, you're actually saying yes to the life and health you're working toward. That's how progress is protected. You need to say no, not out of restriction, but out of purpose. No to habits that pull you backward. No to routines that no longer serve you. No to distractions that cost you progress. Every no protects your yes. So keep in mind, every no protects your yes. So we want to say yes to developing a healthy lifestyle that's sustainable. Now, number 5, let's move on. You have to evaluate and adjust without quitting. This journey isn't linear, folks. There will be plateaus. There will be setbacks. There will be seasons that feel harder than others. That doesn't mean that it's not working. Yeah, you have to check in with yourself regularly. You have to find out what's working, what needs adjusting, adapt without abandoning the progress. Progress is flexible. Quitting, though, is final. All right, folks, as I wrap up, I want to share this with you. You may be feeling discouraged right now. You may be having a hard time. You may even feel like you're a failure, but hear me loud and clear. You have not failed. Yeah, this may be your second reboot, your third time at this, but I want you to understand that you're still growing. You're still becoming a better version of yourself. Reversing type 2 diabetes and sending type 2 diabetes into remission is a long game, and lifestyles that last aren't built in moments of motivation. They're built through consistency, patience, and faith, folks. So I hope today's episode has encouraged you to keep moving. So to help you on your weight loss journey, don't forget to grab your free copy of my free weight loss planner. You can go on my website at beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com to download this tool. It's not just a tracker. It's a resource that will help you to stay focused and build consistency. Again, you can download it from my website at beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. I'll have a link to it in the show description and show notes. Listen, folks, as always, be encouraged and remember, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.